A very good morning again. Day 3, SAFET 2023. Thank you for sticking around. I think the back doors are still open, so whoever outside that is planning to come in, feel free to join us. So we're hosting this special session that we're incredibly excited about. I'm Shenyan Liao from the Marine Stewardship Council. Nice to meet many of you, and this is a session that we wanted to especially perfectly time as day 3 because we've learned so much over the last few days as technology evolves, as our requirements evolves. What are some of the things that we could work together on? And this session is very much that. And we want to, with technology, digital innovation offering new horizons to strengthen seafood market assurance and compliance. But these arrays of different tools, their complexity and interconnected dependencies can sometimes limit some of our implementation and adoption. We get lost in it, and it's really quite nice to take this day 3 to reflect on exactly what we've taken away and how do we want to then expand on that. And we wanted to try to avoid being sort of confused or locked into all these new tools, but exactly what is the intent of my need. And we certainly don't want technology to divide our global seafood marketplace because it might only limit the people that have financial capability or that have the competency to be adopting them. So we want that to be as open, accessible, and we need collaboration. And it's very much the theme of this panel. So I'm really, really excited to have gathered cross-sector perspective to hopefully tease out and represent some of your views too as part of this discussion. So we've got representative from the industry, so fisheries that's having to implement to demonstrate compliance to assurance provider, to technology provider. We hope they could shared some of your voice, but this panel also wished to actively invite your experience. So tell us some of your experience and tell us some of the ongoing challenges and how can we, as you know, a group coming together to continue to evolve this space. So without further ado, I believe there is also a slide. Once again, I'd like to gather not only our panel members' perspectives, so they are each going to give 8 to 10 minutes presentation, introduction to their work, why had technology been important to them in this journey, what are some of their challenges, but I also want to invite us as we listen to the speakers to think about our own personal journey and what are your challenges and barriers and how can we continue, to utilize existing knowledge experience to expand on this opportunity? So without further ado, I'd like to invite my first speaker, Margreet Brinxma from Marine Stewardship Council, to give us the opening.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, everyone. Hello, and thank you for being here on this final and still very much of a promising day of SAFET. My name is again Margreet Brinxma, Senior Supply Chain Innovation Manager at the Marine Stewardship Council, which is a fairly new role at the MSC to research and develop pilot supply chain innovation beyond our regular 5-year policy development cycles. So it's really a role where we want to work from a vision from our management and stakeholders on technical innovations that is a longer journey than a 5-year journey to bring along an industry and our certificate holders. So today I have the honor to share our traceability journey and vision. It's a digital traceability pathway to evolving MSC's assurance program. So, well, first, before we go into that. So I just wanted to focus still on this, for you, on this like digital traceability as an assurance perspective in industry. And I think this is a journey not just from a voluntary standard, but as an industry journey collectively. Therefore, these interesting panelists that we have today. But also I want to invite you to think of this MSc vision when I present this and relate this to your own journey as a stakeholder in the industry and to really share or think of the barriers but also opportunities for collaboration. First of all, finally, I want to say, I know for me it feels very much as a scoop to be able to share our traceability vision, but I'm very much aware that traceability is not a new topic in the industry. It was 2015 when I started interviewing, as a researcher, starting interviewing MSc colleagues on their projects on how to work on traceability. So really be mindful that the vision I present today is an evolved journey of our traceability vision and work that we've been doing. And so I'm still very much excited because it's a very informed vision. And I welcome you to share any questions following on that. Now again, before I go into, I would share this vision. For anyone new or not so familiar with MSc, I want to just simply present the context of our traceability challenge that we work with, and so the context of MSc's operations. So first of all, MSc is working, which is might familiar for anyone watching Jan's presentation yesterday. She presented these numbers as well, but we work with over 600 fisheries representing 50 million tons, which is 90% of all wild marine catch. This is really the start of our supply chain, the volumes that we are working with. Then we're working with over 55,000 certified sites, the handle that will receive or are anyway related to these certified fisheries in over 100 countries. They represent about over 20,000 unique supply chains of certified trademark products. So this is just a sort of frame or reference of this industry challenge that we work with, but also from an assurance perspective. So thinking of an annual number of over 5,000 audits, and performed by which is managed by 26 accreditation bodies, which represent over 400 auditors. So this is a really massive group of stakeholders to think about when we think about traceability. So when I look at all the presentations that we had in the past days, it's so exciting to see all these innovative steps. But it's one thing, and then it's to think of okay, what is then the baseline, and what's the red line or thread that we could bring through to innovation for everyone, so to really scale it. Again, just to remind everyone, MSc has 3 products. Which is the MSc Fishery Standard. It's the MSc Chain of Custody Standard, sort of the backbone to the supply chain to ensure the sustainability claims of the fisheries. And again, we also have an ASC MSc Shared Seaweed Standard. Today, I want to focus on the MSc Chain of Custody Standard, which is my perspective on the traceability challenge. So just as a short introduction to the Chain of Custody Standard, we work from 5 principles. The first principle being that all companies must purchase certified product from a certified supplier. The second principle is that certified products always need to be identifiable because we work on a segregation-based system, which is principle 3, products need to always be separated from non-certified products. And then there's principle 4, which is interesting as one of many. Certified products are traceable and volumes are recorded. And the final principle, the company's management systems need to address the requirements of the standard. So just to highlight here is that in this instance, traceability is one of the 5 principles. So it's not being the core design principle under our chain of custody standard. And I think this is a journey that we had to realize that when we are working on traceability innovations, they didn't always fit very well with our approach to the standard because it never's been the core design principle of how we design our relationships with the certified partners that we work with. So it's just been one of many. And this is an important lesson we learned as an issue because chain of custody, which is an ownership-based principle, is simply not the same as a traceability lens, where you want to really focus on the physical flow of product. So this is a lesson we have kept in mind. Now here's my scoop, which I'm really excited about. So what we've taken as, as I said, as a core issue, that traceability has not been the foundation of our chain of custody standard. So our vision is to really, in the future, to really use traceability as the foundation of our assurance claim. And this requires us to rethink this principle as like a foundational principle. So really what we want to do is to use digital traceability as a pathway to 2030 involving MSC Seafood Assurance Program. Now, and I'm going to read this because, as you know, with visions, every word counts. We've had like a lot of thought into this. So what we are working on is a successful evolution from a chain of custody standard to a traceability standard to leverage and drive industry investment in digitization to further strengthen MSC Seafood Assurance. So really what we want to do here, and I think this sentence wants to highlight, is that we do not want to come up with another digital tool or platform. We really want to leverage all the amazing efforts out there on already investing in traceability tools or platforms. So we don't want to come up with another solution. We want to sync and collaborate to be able to leverage investments in industry and to help us drive towards a shared understanding. Next, MC wants to employ interoperable software to send information requests to certificate holder software, enabling more frequent and timely verification of a certificate holder's traceability data to ensure the integrity of MSC certified products. So again, this is us where we want to work. We don't want to only work on a foundational issue, but we also then want to work on a technical solution that allows us to connect with the technical innovations out there. Now, as with a vision, we are very aware that there's many barriers, like us driving or going on to this journey to 2030. It's good to understand that we are currently embarking on a CUC revision, and that we don't so it is not the aim that this next iteration of the standard is already an almost draft version of of this 2030 vision. But we are very aware that when we want to go on this journey, that the next revision will need to be a stepwise approach towards this 2030 vision. And then, of course, because we have all these challenges, and I think this is where I want to, when I will listen to the other presenters coming after me, is what I've kept in mind, is that the challenges we've identified, such as interoperability, data quality, accessibility also to small-scale fisheries, and this first mile assurance, which is chain of custody not on land-based activities, but really on vessels realities, which is from an MRC perspective where we're quite used, from a chain of custody side, to think of fixed entities. Now with at sea, challenges are quite different. So I want to listen to Marcelo and keep in mind the interoperability question as he's representing a vertically integrated supply chain and an industry perspective. When I think of data quality, I'm keen to listen to Shinta from ICANN to really see how she's working on improving the really data quality of collecting this first step into traceability program work. When I think about accessibility, I was really inspired already by the presentations from Abelobi and their approach of really taking the design principle, the fishermen's at heart, and to really as a key condition on taking them on board on this journey. And finally, there's this first mile assurance, which I will very much listen to Hugh presenting for the Global Fishing Watch on how can we work on assurance on such a vast, unknown territory and vessels. Thank you.
I'll move this swiftly. Next, Marcelo Hidalgo from the Fishing Industry Association from Papua New Guinea will give us his perspective.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Again, my second presentation, and I'm really happy to join this interesting panel with a lot of players. Well, I will start, for those who didn't attend my presentation in the day number 1, who we are. The Fishing Industry Association of Papua New Guinea, we are a vertically integrated tuna supply chain, founded in 1991 in Papua New Guinea. Our tuna members, the fishing companies are 8 fishing companies with 55 tuna processors. And you can see down, we have 6 tuna processors. All of tuna processors are investment from the Philippines or Thailand or Malaysia. They are like Majestic, Number 1, Fravel Fishing, SSPC, RD, and IFC Canning. We have become one of the largest tuna sources in the world. Together with 3 or 4 other players in the Pacific, we are catching the highest volume. And I just wanted to share this data extracted from our traceability platform that belongs to the government. This works like this. Every time I refer to fins or our platform, we are extracting every single data from the government. So it's the government observers, port officers, and enforcement officer, the one collecting this information. And we, as a data owners, send a very kindly request to the government to share with us some specific data that we need for sharing with our market and retailers, clients. As you can see, our volumes since 2020, when we got the MSC certification, has been increasing. But also, above to the right, you can see that our fishery is highly depending on free school or adult tuna swimming. Our catches from almost 70% 2018 before the certification has going up until almost 93% last year. We don't rely on fish aggregating devices anymore. We are not deploying actually based on iFins information. Observers are checking who is deploying or not. And we are keeping our tuna resources healthy. How did we start? In 2017, I joined FIA PNG officially as consultant, but later in 2020, we set up, we agreed that I will be the director of sustainability. And for me, my team, my chairman, the most important was to set up a strategic plan in the coming 5 or 10 years. We developed a log-friend, other organization called a strategic plan. We focus in 4 areas: improvement of management system. We didn't have anything. Even a checklist for auditing methodologies, procedure, policies, training, workshop, etc. Also, improving of CSR and sustainability for these 10 years, well, now until 2030. Stakeholder engagement and market awareness, that is the reason why I am here and attending on behalf of FIA PNG several events. And finally, the topic for this event, technology enhancement. Evolving from several paper-based data collection documents into a fully digitalized platform. Having as a base the FINS, which means Fishery Industry Management System. And this is our history, our journey. In 2020, we got the first certification for the MSC tuna, swimming in the PNG waters. Immediately, we set up a global technical working group. I have a background, some years working for the ASC as a science coordinator with some experience to set up a standard. So I apply those knowledge, not to create a standard, but just to create a robust due diligence process. So we engage expertise from all over the world to criticize and provide feedback about our internal policies, procedures, and methodologies. Once we set up this management system, in 2021, we started a conversation with the Global Dialogue of Seafood Traceability because we believe that would add value to our operations, increasing the transparency in data and showing the world where our fishing vessels were fishing. Finally, the government of Papua New Guinea, the NFA, the National Fisheries Authority, signed an agreement with the Global Fishing Watch. And now, if you open an account that is for free in the GFW, you can see where we are fishing. We moved and we went back to the crew welfare. We implement the due diligence process since 2020 as well, and by 2023, we got the certification demonstrating or recognizing that our crew members receive decent living and working conditions on board. This week, you can go to the MSC website and you will see the second MSC certified fishery in PNG, the lobster artisanal fishery. And it's something that we want to replicate. All the lessons learned with this log from tuna, we're going to replicate in lobster and later in mud crab. By this year, we are increasing and picking up a project that started already last year, and is a tuna challenge, which is an interoperable test across the supply chain. And we are putting several KDs of that data coming from sustainability from the MSC certification, coming from maybe social accountability on board, but indeed based on one language. And that is the challenge, to try to speak the same language in different platforms. As my colleague already mentioned, there are several hundreds of solutions. All of them are awesome, but there should be a way to harmonize the language, that how all these different platforms, including fins from the government of PNG, can speak each other across the supply chain. So this is the first integrated tuna supply chain verify challenge. We aim, or we have put together Global Fishing Watch, the Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability organization, fins from the government, initially the Global Tuna Alliance members. To put all together, everybody will come with their own traceability platform. We have had some meetings in Boston, Amsterdam, Singapore, and Bangkok, and to set up the scope, the objective, and what we are going to do will be a scientific paper coming from this exercise. And we want that this is going to be replicated in every single seafood supply chain, shrimp, haddock, name it. This is our platform, just on a screenshot, belongs to the government, and this is a sub-platform. You can see fins, Fishery Integrated Management System. Everything is collected on board fishing vessels, almost on real time. It's collected in our processing factories, also by electronic system, and the fins has already an e-audit tool that is checking immediately per day, per week, depending on the data. So we are very confident that this is a strong platform, almost in real time. As the creator, David Carey, said, just need to speak this platform. How the data fly, well, everything comes from the e-tablet and goes to a satellite, go to the server in the fins, then they share with us in our fins, the PNG, and we also share with the SPC, the Secretary of Pacific Countries for Research. We were so confident that we said, yeah, we should apply for the Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability Capability Test. That is the test to have to demonstrate standardization in one language. And we did, and we were very confident to get the recognition in 3 weeks. Easy. Okay, it took us 13 months. Was not easy, because the capability test is an algorithm, and I am no expert on that, my apologies. But what this algorithm or this system does is to check if fins is collecting the 56 or 60 KDs for every batch or every stage of the operation in 1 minute. Can you imagine? You press the button, the capability test is running, and in 1 minute they will say, okay, the data collection has been 100%, 80%, 90%, and this is missing. We aim to do the same, integrating every single platform. But how? If everybody have their own thing, fish, fins, wool, name it. So that is the reason why we reach Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability, that they have standardized this language with the capability test, and we are able to speak the same language and harmonize and transfer all the information. It's going to be so easy for NGOs, governments, and retailers to press a button and get information in less than a couple of minutes. No wait 24 hours or 48 hours. Oh, I didn't find this paper. Oh, the server is not working. Now GDST is helping with this tool. So these are others, a screenshot about fins, how we are taking information on board about buoys, fat designing if we are, and this is the tuna challenge, where several organizations are involved. The Fishing Industry Association, we have one processor, two processors actually. Actually, we have 3 fishing companies involved. They open all the information. Now we are searching for a distributor partner and a retailer partner. The condition is that everybody has to pass the capability test. And then we are going to recognize if there is any gap in this exercise, which is going to be fine. And finally, we will try to align and improve the process indeed. That is the reason why we agreed to also write a research paper regarding this exercise. What do we aim? Ensuring a robustness of each system. Remember, are going to be different traceability platform while testing it with other traceability systems in the supply chain, to interconnect several players in the tuna supply chain, to identify any gaps within each system while upholding transparency in our traceability system, to increase the bar in the tuna industry. If we, as PNG, a small country, can do it, why the other players, why the other tuna supply chains cannot do it, and why other seafood supply chains cannot make it as well. Encourage tuna supply players to join GDST and pass the capability test. It's a way to go. Let's speak the same language with so many awesome and beautiful platform solutions, traceability solutions that we have. A short history, this was launched in Boston officially at the Seafood Expo in March 2022. Now we're in a preparatory stage. We have fishing company processors. The Global Fishing Watch also joined us to provide that first mile to track where the fishing vessel was fishing. So it's going to be a really integrated challenge for starting from the market. The KDE, key data elements, and the critical transaction events data sharing is important, and even much more to be able to share across the seafood supply chain. Thank you so much for your attention.
I have the pleasure to now welcome Shinta Yuniartar. She's from the Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara, Yekan. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sinta from Yayasan Konservasi Alam Nusantara. So first, I would like to thank SAFET and MSc for having me today in this conference. So this is my first conference on AI and technology development. So since the first day of this conference, I feel amazed with the development of technology, AI in the fisheries, not only in data collection, but also supply chain, and also the surveillance. So thank you, MSc and SAFET. So basically, our organization is not focusing on the development of technology, but more focusing how to have a data collection to be more effective, so the decision maker and scientific can obtain the data that they require. Most of data communication between fishers and scientists sometimes does not align with the education level of fishers, especially in developing countries such as Indonesia. So first time we developed our program on data collection, our technician used images to have communication with fishers. So sometimes in different areas, they have different local names. So it is possible to report one species but different name in our experience. So that was become an idea to be the central of our approach about this image base to the fishers. In our development of data collection, fishers basically take pictures all of catch. So they don't need to fill table or writing. We lend measuring board, spot trace, and pocket camera to fishers and give them incentive in a monthly basis. Our work relies on the technician to interpret the images into species and catch length, and also read the spot race. The benefit of our data collection is high resolution data. Data are verifiable, especially in respect to species identification. So this is our first trial on AI for image interpretation. And here you see the device on the right side, on your left, I'm sorry, to produce standardized images. We trained the AI system in 2,500 images and trial for more than 700 images with overall accuracy 95.2%. So here is the example of 3 species related Pristipomoides snapper, which are quite similar in my eye, but AI system seems no problem to tell them apart. The challenges of this trial the first trial is the devices that are too big to put in our partner vessels, because we partner with mostly on small scale, 5 gross tonnage, so these become our challenges. And because of the size, it is limited size to, the catch should be in certain length to put in the device, and it is too expensive for mass production. And then this is our second trial of AI. We improve it to have segmentation in multiple fishes in one image. After the species identification, the computer will measure the length of the fish to the length of the color box in the photo. So every color box is 10 centimeter. We have a collaboration with University of Hawaii for the image species identification. And this is the performance of Fish Face 2.0. That 99% of fish are correctly segmented from the raw photographs, and the 91% correctly identified for the species identification. So we try to overlay between the predicted and real size. Well, on average, it is 2.2 centimeter of actual length. And from this normal distribution, seems that the length that we predicted suitable for stock assessment. So we take the lesson learned from Fish 1.2 and Fish Face 1.0 and Fish Face 2.0. We delivered the lesson learned to the government and possibility of having the image-based data collection to improve the accuracy of e-logbook, the government data collection. So it is still being an issue related to the accuracy in e-logbook. Right now, we are in the process of develop image-based e-logbook with the ministry to reduce uncertainty in the species identification by fishers. So it is still ongoing. Unfortunately, we only have this one slide. And this is one of activities of YECAN with Tuna Consortium funded by Walton Family Foundation. So this is what we introduced in the government e-logbook to add camera during sitting phase. And when fishers click on the camera, and it leads to the apps of fish identification. And after that, the fishers will take fish through the camera of the cell phone, and then the apps will identify to process the identification of the fish. And the species identification is delivered to the apps of e-logbook. The challenges that we have, as you might see in the below, in the middle. So we have a challenge to distinguish between juvenile yellowfin and juvenile big eye, because it is also some problem, maybe by fishers and also sometimes by technicians. And lesson learned from this integration that we have with government, previously we offered the image-based data collection as a coders, as a good data collection system to have a verify data. But I found that during this communication with the government, it is difficult to offer a new system. So it is better to have deliver the lesson learned that we have in the data collection to the government and how to improve the data collection of the government from our lesson learned. I think it is known by everyone that combination image-based data collection and AI enhance the accuracy of data collection itself. That's all from me. Thank you.
We now have Kara Birkenmeyer from Abelobi to join us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kara Birkenmeyer, and I work for Abelobi. My role there is International Projects Manager, and I focus primarily on the Fisher to Marketplace deployments in the international space. In case you haven't been able to attend either of my colleagues' presentations yesterday, we are a non-profit organization. We operate a mobile app suite and an empowerment program that is focused on social justice, poverty alleviation, and an improved small-scale fisheries value chain. We work very closely with small-scale fishery communities. They are our partners in co-designing these ICTs, and the aim here is to improve marine resource stewardship as well as advancing traceability. As we have heard over the last few days, small-scale fisheries are globally very important. I don't think at this stage anyone is going to deny their contribution to livelihoods, to economies, and to food security. Today, my topic is going to be ensuring digitalization does not exclude small-scale fisheries from market access. Particularly, I'd like to talk about how tech integration and collaboration can help towards these goals. So small-scale fisheries face a complex suite of problems. Some of these are displayed on the slide. I would venture to add that there's also a risk of further marginalization due to the advancement of traceability and therefore an increased market demand for this. As Hugh Thomas mentioned 2 days ago, the regulatory initiatives are increasingly requiring digital traceability. I think we can all agree that this is a great thing, but we must be careful that this drive does not exclude small-scale fisheries that do not yet necessarily have access to traceable value chains. So, very quickly to talk about our apps, I'm going to speak mainly about our Fisher and Marketplace apps. The Abelobi Fisher app is effectively a catch logging tool as well as a small business management tool. And our Marketplace app is a digital marketplace which is available to chefs, home buyers, and retailers. Beyond our technology, however, we have a lot of entry points. We have a holistic approach to our engagement with communities. This means that we work with safety at sea initiatives, we work with vessel tracking, we do quite a lot of financial services as well. As this next slide shows, we also work across the entire value chain. We work not only with the fishers, we work all the way to the buyers, and throughout that there is a ton of data collection that is collected not only through the Fisher app, but also the Monitor app that my colleague spoke about yesterday. But what is missing from this diagram is everything that happens along the way. This doesn't feature the accounting platforms, this doesn't feature the logistics and what is required on that side. This is a big part of our technology is the need for interoperability and integration. We are very focused on the fisher and the buyer side, and that is where our focus should be. So we rely on other technological platforms to be accessible to us so that we can integrate and harness those strengths in order to make the value chain access open to small-scale fishers, accessible to small-scale fishers. This allows us to eventually create an entirely traceable product, which is visible from the buyer's side thanks to a QR code, which a buyer or consumer can scan and read the entire story about the fish that they are consuming. If you attend my talk a little bit later, I will dive more deeply into this. But in the meantime, I want to move on to our community of practice. In addition to integration and interoperability, I also believe that collaboration is key. I think that with collaboration, particularly a more formalized collaboration like an established community of practice, we can facilitate collaboration, we can stimulate cross-pollination, and we can together more effectively advocate for the continued inclusion of small-scale fishers in this global drive towards sustainability and traceability. There are some further details on the screen. I don't want to spend too much time on them. These will be available afterwards. We are already backed by quite an extensive network, but we are always looking to advance this and to increase this. So please do reach out. There will be further communications about our community of practice, and we'd be delighted to join forces, to put our strengths together so that we can really advance the access of small-scale fisher communities to traceable value chains. I'm going to leave it at that, and I will pass it over to you, I believe. Thank you all.
We now have our very final speaker before we open for questions, so stick around. So now Hugh Thomas from Global Fishing Watch. Thank you.
It's been a long week, clearly. So, Hugh Thomas, Global Fishing Watch. You've probably seen me present with different hats on throughout the week, and apologies if I've created any confusion for anybody. I'd like to thank the Marine Stewardship Council for the opportunity to come and talk today on behalf of Global Fishing Watch. So I'm a seafood industry consultant for Global Fishing Watch. I've been working with them for about 2.5 years. They asked me to look at how the seafood industry could engage with the platforms, the tools that Global Fishing Watch has developed, what the value to industry may be, and also really to see how industry can support the aims and ambitions of the organisation. So as it says here, Global Fishing Watch is a global organisation. You may have heard me mention yesterday when I spoke that its primary aim is research, tool development to underpin the capacity building of government monitoring, control and surveillance operations. What's become clear through the time with Global Fishing Watch and the development that the organisation is having is that what was primarily designed as a shine the light to catch the thief is now turning into a compliance tool and actually has the opportunity to continue to evolve into a fisheries management tool that can both help governments with their wider fisheries management, but also supply chains in terms of avoidance of some things, due diligence and that sort of thing. And so Global Fishing Watch continues to build its efforts. The data being shared on the map is increasing, and we're seeing that there's a recognition that actually the opportunity that Global Fishing Watch affords, when governments especially have limited resources, is becoming increasingly powerful. So since 2012, Global Fishing Watch has used AIS data, Automatic Identification System data, to look at fishing activity. Whilst AIS is primarily a safety at sea device and collision avoiding device, they have been able to use machine learning algorithms to predict and show what vessel activity. AIS is great in that it is actually a standardized system globally, and so Global Fishing Watch has been able to develop a sausage machine that they take all the AIS data in, they clean it up and they present it into the map, as you can see. They're now increasingly taking in VMS data, vessel monitoring system data, which unfortunately has some variability, which means that the models have to be slightly adapted, which is why they're now transitioning to VMS data. And Global Fishing Watch was really pleased that FIA, P&G and Marcelo agreed to share their VMS data with Global Fishing Watch, because I think it shows the opportunity to overlay the two elements. The other thing just to note is that while Global Fishing Watch has really done what it says on the tin, is focused on fishing, they recently were awarded some money through the Audacious program, which will allow them to map all human activity at sea. So that will include biodiversity, working with small-scale fishers. It will include renewable energy, mineral extraction. Any activity humans have at sea, Global Fishing Watch will be looking at it and overlaying that into the map. And we align it to, Global Fishing Watch has today been a jigsaw based upon a black and white picture. We're now starting to add some colour to that picture so people can really see the insights. So the existing tools today have really been based upon activity, so the behaviour, the vessel identity, vessel insights that are coming through, and I'll be touching on vessel viewer in a couple of minutes, and also vessel detection. And so as the data sets increase, the opportunity has improved to really shine the light. The beauty, I think, from a seafood industry point of view, is that there's legislation out there that says companies all over the world need to take some form of due diligence and undertake risk assessments. There's also regulations that say they have to avoid IUU, illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing activity. And so we believe that the opportunity to integrate those systems and present them to industry really helps. I think one of the challenges that some of the industry users that will face as they start using some of the tools that Global Fishing Watch has integrated, and the integrated tool Vessel View will be launched on the 26th of October, is that there are lots of data gaps in public and global data sets, which means that there will be gaps. And so people will, as Donald Rumsfeld said, we've got the knowns, the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns, and I think industry are going to find out a lot of unknown unknowns as they start using the data. So you're now thinking, why is he rambling on about this? How does this relate to what we're talking about? So really, we've identified through the work with industry that number one, lots of seafood supply chain owners actually don't know the vessels they're buying from, and part of that reason is because the motivation has not been there for them to do that, because we haven't had public vessel lists. They don't include authorizations. They don't include identity and beneficial ownership. And so by Global Fishing Watch using their tools, algorithms, and data management ability to bring all those data sets together, it now gives a purpose to understanding what vessels people are buying from. And so we think there's an opportunity not just take the environmental issues. Once you know what vessel you're buying from, you then know the activity the vessel is taking. You then have the opportunity to say what ports is it going to, what people are employed on board, and then you can start looking at labour and human rights issues. And if you then start taking everything else we've heard in the last 3 days about the digitisation of seafood supply chains, electronic monitoring and reporting, observer data, all the other identification of fish and species, if that data can then all be combined together in a map that also has sunrise and sunset, has bird and cetacean migration patterns, that has phytoplankton and sea surface temperatures, you can see the opportunity there from an industry point of view is to say we can really improve our management and our effectivity of and efficiency of what we're doing. You know, and so I think the opportunity from a seafood industry point of view with the digitisation and the data that's coming is great. So from a point of view of where we are, we're encouraging people to know their vessels, to get their information. The project that FIA, that Marcelo's talked about in terms of the tuna challenge is great, because what it's allowed Global Fishing Watch to do is, number one, work with the Papua New Guinea government and the National Fisheries Authority and help them with their understanding and capacity building, which is critical because actually, whilst they're very well understand and they have information, sometimes the analysis tools aren't always there, and so Global Fishing Watch is helping with that. Number two, as a thank you to FAA P&G, we're providing some insight back to FAA P&G to say, right, this is what we're seeing, so they have the opportunity to address that with their own teams that might be different from a government point of view. And so that helps the supply chain assurance for the customers. If you then take the opportunity to through the global dialogue of seafood traceability and in the interoperable traceability journey, the end retailers can then use Vessel Viewer as an option that I'm showing some of the insight reports, can then look at the validation and the veracity of the data. You know, having data coming at you is great, but you also need the opportunity to say, is this data accurate? Is it valid? And actually, are there authoritative data sets I can go to check them? The Global Dialogue on Seafood Traceability Standard has the authoritative data sets, and Global Fishing Watch curates some of those data sets, such as unique vessel identifiers, authorizations, activity in and out of marine protected areas, that sort of thing. And so the opportunity then, through the work that Global Fishing Watch has done with the World Economic Forum, Fishwise, Stanford Center for Ocean Studies, has been to say, this is some insight data that can be given back to supply chain owners so they can then do their validation and veracity checks. I must say to you, Global Fishing Watch will not warrant, underwrite or certify seafood supply chains. That is not their role. Their role is to take data sets, to curate them, to build algorithms, machine learnings, and tools and models that people can use. Traditionally, they've built individual tools for government inspectors. They're now integrating all their data sets together with a view there's other data sets, and they'll be making those available to anybody that wants them, whether it's researcher, a university, an NGO. Industry, we're exploring a pay-to-play model. If Global Fishing Watch receives data from industry, they'll get insight and information back for free as a thank you. If people want to use the data, it will be a pay-to-play. We're still working on what that might look like, but we believe free people don't value, and certainly free doesn't mean that there's investment to maintain them, and so there will be some form of pay-to-play. So we've seen, we've talked about FAA P&G sharing their VMS data. We're looking at the other opportunities to take the other digital data sets coming through, and so we believe then when you align that with the work that the MSC is doing, and then you look at the work that Abalobi and some of the others are doing, and you pull them all together into this Internet of Things, actually the opportunity for supply chain assurance, proper traceability in using that data affords itself. So just to say, really from the opportunity that there's a seafood market element to our work. We're also working with insurers. We're also exploring financial institutions because they have a slightly different need for the data, but actually it's the same information set that can be used and curated. And so all the application protocol interfaces, APIs that Global Fishing Watch has had, have got are now GDST compliant. They've adopted the key data elements for consistency. And we believe that by working with industry, we'll have the opportunity to scale what Global Fishing Watch is doing, but also advocate to governments, because actually I personally believe, and I know Global Fishing Watch recognises that a lot of work industry does is because governments haven't actually done what they should be doing. And so we have an opportunity to leverage industry to advocate when they know what their gaps are, to advocate to fill those sources in, to continue to enhance government capabilities and have a sustainable seafood industry and a global ocean that we all love. Thank you very much.
I'm incredibly grateful to have this collection of minds together, and including yours too. I'm also conscious that we will be breaking for coffee shortly. However, we do like to be able to set up for the panel. So whilst the chairs are being arranged, if you do need to leave the room, feel comfortable to do that, but we will be convening a question and answer, and we really love to hear from you, your perspective, or even an observation from the last few days, what you've learned, and your approach as well in considering collaboration, interoperability, and your journey on digitization. So I will shortly be re-inviting my panel speakers back on the stage, and we'll be here to be happy to explore some of your questions together. My dear panels. I believe there are also roaming mics, yeah? Any questions from the audience, feel free to just get our attention. All right. Once again, thank you, my dear panels. Already? We have, oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Arif Shah from Greenpeace. So thank you for all speakers. I think it's really great insights to discuss how we digitize the traceability. So I just want to make some insight that I think traceability is really important, but without the transparency and also the accessibility to that information, the accountability is not there, right? So I think that's really important how to make sure that this digitalization on the traceability also increase the accessibility and also the accountability, so all the stakeholders can benefit from. Yeah, that's the first one. So maybe you could just comment on that one, but I think it's really important to consider that. So make the integrations not only on the platforms, but also how the vision of the next step of the traceability. And another point that I think is really good also to be discussed is I really like the ideas on the participations. So proactive participation from the stakeholders is really important. And there are two, I think that's really important that we need to put some priority attention. The first one on the small scale fishers, I really like that. I think we need to invest more how to engage so the digital traceability also will benefit for the small scale. The second one, I think is we need to put really on the fisher's voice, that working on the industrial fishing vessel, because sometimes we don't really give them, I think maybe let's say, is there any representative from the unions here? Because I think it's really important also to, if you want to be really inclusive and to envision that our digitalization in the fisheries is inclusive enough, I think we need to bring the voice coming from the unions, yeah. So I think maybe for the next step, I think it's the whole stakeholder maybe need to, maybe Marcelo maybe can also try to how we can increase the fishers, the fishing workers' voice, yeah, in these moments. Yeah. Thank you.
Quite a few perspectives. Very happy for Marcelo. You want to have a go?
Well, good question. No easy to answer. Well, first of all, thank you for the question and the analysis, the background. But how, well, it's a process. Now, I think at least in FIA PNG, we are taking the first steps to integrate the worker voice into a platform as assurance model. I explained in my first presentation, the day one, and sharing with the global dialogue on seafood traceability to put it as a basic requirement, as a KDE in that way. On the other hand, it's something that we haven't talked during these days here, but is the famous Wi-Fi on board. So everybody can take selfie, and can you imagine doing that in a purseiner? You are brailing, and you want to take a selfie, then maybe the tuna will end in your head. So it's easy to say, let's put Wi-Fi on board to have access for a daily communication, but in my experience, at least in FIA, 15% of our fleet provide Wi-Fi for free and free access, but the restriction is for safety, crew safety. They can only access at night on Wednesday, and there are several reasons. It's for free, but only on Wednesday. They are working, they need to rest, they don't need to spend 3, 6, or 7 hours chatting and not sleeping. captain is responsible to take care of the safety, crew safety. So they have to ask, please sleep and rest and be alert, tomorrow we need to work. So in that way, maybe we can adapt this type of technology like Wi-Fi access somewhere in this type of platform and connect people. The rest of our fleet has Wi-Fi on board, but it's only operable because of satellite restriction when they are nearby land. I don't know, that is, I think, what I can share where we are regarding giving a voice to crew members. Land-based is another history and is easier. Thanks.
Just on the labour question, the worker voice, it's critically important, absolutely. I think there's several challenges that the industry face. Number one is we don't know who's operating on board a lot of fishing vessels. There's no international definition of a fisher, which is a criminal position that I think we're in. There is lacking of registration of vessels, so you don't know who should be operating and who should be operating on them. And I think there's also a lack of responsibility for some buyers where they don't know what vessels they're buying from. And so to me, it's a parallel process. We have to enable worker voice and understand how that can be afforded, but we also have to do the initial steps of defining a fisher, getting proper vessel registers, getting people to map their supply chains and know who they're buying from, and then understanding who's operating on those vessels. Just to touch on your question on transparency and commitments, I think it's very difficult to rationalise why somebody will invest in their supply chain from a commercial point of view and then tell everybody, the world and his wife, who they're doing, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. Because companies have to invest in supply chains, and sometimes they do it for a point of difference from a commercial and competitive point of view. That being said, I think people should have transparency in their supply chains. They should know who's operating and where and what they're doing. And then I think that they also have a responsibility that when challenged and asked, they should be open about what it is they're doing and how they're mitigating those risks, and that it's time bound. And so I think we have to understand, I think there needs to be a conversation on what transparency really means, because there's a commercial reality in the world where people won't invest if anybody can come and take, but there's also the recognition that people should be honest and to their consumers and the stakeholders.
Yes, if I can add to the matter about transparency of traceability. So from the small scale fishery, the fisheries that I've worked in, we often work with individuals going out on boats, on their own, maybe in pairs up to, 4 or 5 people per boat. When it is such a small operation, that traceability that reflects directly on them, there's no kind of anonymity. So we take a lot of care to make sure that the information or the individual information is protected, that information belongs to the fisher. Now, on the other side, of course, we do, one of our greatest value propositions is scanning the QR code as a buyer and being able to see exactly, who caught the fish that you are currently eating. But we take care that that when that level of transparency is required, the fishers are well aware of it, and those data agreements have been put into place. So I think that there is a very careful balance of, transparency for sure, but at the same time that is personal information, and to what level that should be shared is up to, I think, in our case at least, the individual fisher.
Yeah, from an MSC perspective, I would like to add to that transparency, traceability challenge and question, because this is something that, like, even me setting traceability, the innovations on traceability internally is something I struggle with, because the general response is, oh, so you will work on a QR and then people will be able to scan back to the source. And my response would be, no, this is not what we're working on right now. We're working on an infrastructure that would allow us to enable future questions on levels of transparency that we want to offer. And it's really, we don't want to, like, will not get an industry along with you if we're going to ask them to set up a data sharing network where then we will going to say, oh, then we're going to do with it what we want. Like, we will tell your story on your behalf. So it's like, from a standard setter perspective, it's a very difficult and journey, but also I don't think it's always our story to tell. It's because we're not the owners of the data. Then again, if there's stakeholder push towards this, I think this will only, those questions will only be able to be answered once that like traceability data structure is there, because then you know what you could offer. Then you can have a very specific question about what you want to share and what you want to be transparent about. And I think another pitfall, and I like it to relate this to the workers' voice as well, is because the knee-jerk reaction is when we talk about transparency, is transparency towards consumers. But this is a mutual two-way street. So I want to also emphasize that just as well, this question you would need to ask in the design principles is transparency to fishermen. So.
I also wanted to invite Shinta that you have a similar perspective, because you're also quite directly working with the fishermen themselves and ensuring that data quality perspective. So it's quite rich in your 3.0 experience that you're embarking onwards, yeah?
Thank you, Jan. So thank you, Mas Arif, for the question. So I will answer from my experience working with small-scale Indonesian tuna fisheries. Delivering their data collection, their data to the government is an obligation for fishers. It is written in our law, Mas. And regarding to that, choosing between what kind of information that can be shared and not shared, maybe I will answer it from the law perspective that for the fishing operation, it should be shared location and catch, even species and the weight in detail, right? I'm not sure how to differentiate between what can share and not share from the fishing operation, because yeah, it is clearly written in our law from Indonesia perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from anybody? Two at the front, yep.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Tony Craig from New Zealand. A question for the panel. I'm really interested in all the technology and the belief at small-scale fishing levels. And what that's going to do is going to expose those small-scale fishers to a different marketplace than what might be localized traditionally, right? So you're shifting that fish away from local communities into new markets. What's the social consequence of that at a particularly village and artisanal level? I raised the issue just secondly with the Minister yesterday, particularly for Indonesia, when you have quota. We've been in quota systems in New Zealand for 37 years, and I've watched the social impact of a quota system. And you think about here in Indonesia, you've probably got 2 million artisanal fishers. That quota system in 10 years' time, you're probably only going to have 1 million, because you can't protect fisheries and you can't protect fishermen at the same time. It's very difficult. So what's the social thinking from impacts of this?
Thank you. That's a great question, and I think that it's very important to ask such questions. It is something that you know, you're doing this great work. You never know what the impact on the site could be. That is luckily something that we are very well aware of, and we do have a food security program. So the aim of that is that yes, absolutely, we are creating new markets in you know, slightly further afield. For example, in South Africa, a lot of our fish is being caught on the south and the west coasts, and then being channeled into Cape Town. However, there is a certain percentage of the catch that is made available locally at considerably reduced prices to contribute towards the food security of the actual communities in which that fish was caught. So we do try to offset the flow out of the communities with sort of access to affordable protein within those communities. One thing, and I think that my colleague might be better placed to elaborate on this, is I believe that during different seasons, there might be sort of an exchange. So from the South Coast communities, we'll send it to the West Coast communities and vice versa, in order to sort of offset the different availabilities during seasons. If you're interested in that, I do recommend that you speak to Kasha. I think she's a little bit more clued up on the South African situation. On that note, I also do want to say that exactly to take into account these sort of perhaps unintended consequences, we do have very in-depth impact measurement. And that impact measurement is not purely ecological, it is very much social as well. And all of the results of those studies are available live, updated daily on our website. So if a question like this comes up, take a look. We might actually have metrics on our website available that do address those. And if not, we are certainly interested in finding out what other unintended consequences there may be. So do reach out. I think this is something that we feel very, very strongly about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So I will answer from the policy that happens in Indonesia regarding the quota base. Small scale is protected. That's the government policy for now. It means that they have their certain quota so this year, all fishers will have a historical catch to be able, this number of this year will be used for the next year quota. So in small scale, it is protected because, the government policy to protect the small scale because want to avoid the negative impact of this quota to the small scale. And I'm sorry, what is that? Regarding the market, it is still maybe not following with the quota base itself. Maybe in this case, our colleague with small scale and the quota base in MDPI, such as working a lot how to maintain their partner in their area to like more. They keep in the quota process itself through the cooperative, because this is what government said for quota base for small scale. So regarding the negative impact for small scale in Indonesia, maybe what I can say that it is still. I'm saying still a negative impact won't be seen maybe in the 1 or 2 years because it's still the government still protect the small scale fisheries.
Hi, Tony. Thank you for the question. Well, I can share a couple of examples. I was thinking from the industrial side, there are some unintended consequences. For instance, sharing our position with the Global Fishing Watch. Our competitors, they will see where we're fishing and where the catches are so good. So they will try to go there, but maybe there are some process of quarantine data that you can share that waiting 5 days, waiting 7 days is enough. Maybe other fisheries prefer to have that quarantine sharing period of 1 month. Doesn't matter. Our fleet decide to do it almost in real time, but then say no, better 7 days. So that is unintended to protect the fishing ground. Looking at the small-scale fishery, I think it's case by case. For instance, we have the lobster fishery in PNG where there is no quota, but we have seasons, and we have minimum size. And unintended consequence are prices for divers and prices for processors for export. Markets know where they can play and put the price down when they are catching. And the case of the small-scale fishery mud crab is quite similar, where the restrictions are size and are also the stage of the female of the crab. So there are some restrictions for harvesting. And again, most of the, I would say, no social consequences, but are market consequences that affect the pocket of the fisherman, the small-scale or villager or fisherman.
Thank you. I think there's a question, two questions at the front.
I'm Timur from MDPI. Yeah, we are working with small-scale fisheries also in Indonesia. Yeah, my question is how, to our lobby, actually. How do you make sure the small-scale fishers in your country to use the application, to fill in the logbook and etc. As you present, and how long that process? Because in Indonesia also we are working with small-scale, and this process is not short, but many effort. So I just want to know how you approach them. Thank you.
That's a great question. I feel like it's a key question for the last 3 days, is fisher buy-in. I would firstly encourage you to attend my talk a little bit later. I will be diving into it in much more detail later. One of the key things is making the technology very context specific, so that it's relevant. You know, you don't want to pass through a bunch of screens that feel like, you know, it's kind of a waste of time. So configuration is very region specific. That's the first thing. Secondly, the process of co-design itself, I think, encourages buy-in, because it gives the fishers a greater sense of ownership and participation if they've actively been engaged in the process of designing the technology. Those are key. I also, so my role is often based on the sort of the small international deployments. And there it is something that we struggle with. Because I work with the Fisher to Marketplace deployment, I'm lucky I have that built-in incentive, right? Because market access is one of the greatest incentives for these fishers to be logging their catches. So maybe I'm biased, because obviously that's absent in a lot of catch logging technology. But that being said, when we roll out the Fisher app, and then 6 months later, the Marketplace app is only rolled out, we do see a huge lag. And that is a challenge that we absolutely are working on, and we actively brainstorm about that, you know, regularly. I think that, so as I was saying, contextuality is very important. And I think that what has also come up over the last few days is relying on kind of a Fisher champion model. So that goes a long way, because I think that a lot of the communities I work in, there's fatigue. There are a lot of NGOs coming in and, you know, doing this parachute science, you know, dropping in, trying a project for a year and then disappearing. And I think that in order to build the trust that is required to sort of result in buy-in and eventual success, firstly, there's the boots on the ground. There's actually spending time in that community. And secondly, there is relying on a sort of a champion model where this person can lead by example, where that message is not coming from some international NGO, but rather from a peer. So I think that is also an important aspect. It is something that we are actively exploring, though, and yeah, I would love to hear your inputs about it.
Thank you. I'm conscious of time and would like to have breaks. We'll take 2 last questions from this is such a rich experience panel, so we will be happy to stick around, but yeah, we'll take 2 questions here.
Thank you. I'm Kaisar from Indonesian Maritime Youth Association, and also the director of Maritimepreneur International Certification Center. We have question like, do you have any experience that your data system, digital system to be hacked, and any data leakage to the others that you cannot share, but you have any data leakage to somebody? If you and how to anticipate? Yeah, can you share to us how to anticipate and solve this problem? Thank you.
Give the microphone to me, great. Certainly from a Global Fishing Watch point of view, they take data security very seriously. They are backed by Google. They provide a lot of the computing capabilities through their philanthropic foundation. And so the data security is all built in with that. I can't explain exactly what it is because, as I said to you, I'm a seafood industry consultant. Just on data, I think it's also important to say that Global Fishing Watch recognises that data management curation is a very serious topic for people, especially when you start taking in information that relates to people or people on board vessels. And so they've recently set up a data ethics team, which is also looking at the handling of data and how that should be curated, and then they will publish next year what it is that they sit with that. So happily, if you want to know more, I will take your details and I'll get somebody from the team to give you a very specific answer from a Global Fishing Watch point of view on security.
Yeah, and I can answer for MSC, and it might not be the answer, the level you're looking for, but it's been a topic that we've struggled with as well, in particular because we work with so many partners. So if we want to set up a traceability system where we ping or put in data requests to our certificate holders, it will build in a massive responsibility for MSC on the data security. So the proposal that we're now piloting is that we're not going to, we'll only store the data, traceability data for like seconds, but that we will store only the analysis of the data. So basically the AI that we've done on the data, that is the data we store. So at least it reduces some of the responsibility and risks of data sharing in such a broad network. Another issue is where we've seen, so if you're going to use an API, for example, to do data requests to an external partner, it's very difficult because you might like fish in, they might send data back that's much more than you actually were requesting or needed. So it's this API thing where it's difficult to actually to take responsibility over the fact that we only get the data that we need. So this is something that we work with very closely with our with the partners that we'll be piloting with, as we'll say this is not really, we can't take responsibility over that. So we'll put that responsibility on our partners working with us, but obviously that's a shared journey and lesson to be learned.
Do we have a final question?
Yeah. Quick question. Sorry, I'm conscious of time. This might be a question more for Marcello and Hugh. So over the last few days, we've seen some amazing talks about technology, where it's going, its application of small-scale industrial fishing, what it's capable of, cost, all of those sorts of things, which have been incredibly interesting. Sorry, but the question I had was, with all the investment that's going into technology, do we think the market's keeping up? Is there enough pull to go with the push? You know what I mean? I know, Marcello, there's a lot of stuff you're doing, maybe in the labour area, but in general, overall, do we think that the market is aware and really invested in and bought into this idea of what transparency and traceability? Are they committed, as we would hope that they would be, to justify the support for all this amazing work that's going on out there?
I think it's fair to say there's a whole rainbow of different levels of readiness. There are still people in the marketplace who are ignorant of what's happening around them. There are people who choose economically not to be aware of it because it means that they cannot continue business as usual. But there are also lots of companies who are painfully aware that they've got digitized data coming at them and they need to manage and curate it. There's also due diligence directive regulations coming through. There's import monitoring schemes and export schemes, and governments are certainly driving the policies. And as I think I mentioned yesterday, the Sustainable Development Goals are really about leaving no one behind, and there's certainly governments, there's at least 10 governments I'm aware of around the world that are looking at policies on how they can have digitized information schemes, use machine learning and AI to deliver effective fisheries management at all levels and scales, and those policies will inevitably flow through to the marketplace. So the answer is we're all over the place, and there are some thought leaders and there's some laggards, as with everything.
Thank you, Geoffrey, for your question. I will start to answer by block. First of all, the market. not everybody cares about this, I have to say. For instance, the UK market, they request transparency and accountability. And we have to clarify the definition, what is transparency, what they want to know. Because everybody say transparency, but what do you mean to say with that? And the same with accountability. Tesco and Sainsbury are some of our buyers, so they are very specific what is the level. And for that, we have been engaging to all these organizations. Other European countries, no, they are not interested, they don't need that, they are fine. At least MSC certification, that is the way to go, and traceability. But more than that, not yet. But I am sure with the pressure, and that is the second block, NGOs, those are the ones pushing for this level of accountability and transparency. And that is the reason why our members in PNG decide to go for it. If you look at the Pacific, we are the first country to set up all this type of pre-competitive collaboration with so many NGOs because of an initiative of our members. We don't have a brand, no one see PNG brand, but we supply tuna to the main brands in the world. And the responsibility as a country and working with the authority, with National Fishery Authority, is to increase the bar in the tuna industry to be able to reach all these markets. Now even the US, even though we have some taxes restriction, the market players like Walmart is interested to pay much more for that. But not everybody is open and aware or cares about this level of transparency.
Any final remark? No? Okay. With that, I'd like to thank you for sticking around and your really good questions. And this is something that we want to keep exploring beyond this room, beyond the SAFET 2023. I'd like you to give our panel members a round of applause. We are happy to stick around at the front. Feel free to approach us, but also enjoy your coffee break 15 minutes before the next session. So I know Carol will be speaking later again, so join her too. Thank you.